Viewers, hi friends, welcome to the Amazing Grace channel. For those who have been here before, you are welcome. If you are new, you are still welcome. Don't forget to subscribe, to share, to like, and to comment. This is the Amazing Grace channel, the channel that talks about the grace of Jesus Christ, what he did for us on the cross and beyond, and nothing else. His life and how it is affecting us till today, and how it will continue to affect us, to make us positive people, to make us resurrected people, even till the end of age. It is something for everlasting. It is something eternal, so something that must be talked about until endlessly, talking about the grace of Jesus Christ. Thank you for coming back. On today's video, as you must have seen, we are talking about leadership by service. There are leaders, we have leaders in the churches, stewards whom God has appointed and given revelations and visions to share to the people. But there are certain qualities that we must have as leaders. We must lead by serving. That is what Jesus Christ himself was telling the disciples in Matthew 20:26, that anyone who desires to be greater must be a servant. Anyone who desires to be a leader must come to that place of service, because Jesus Christ himself served us. He served humanity. He came here to serve us. His death and resurrection was service that he was doing to us as human beings, as fallen as we were, as dirty as we were. He came to serve, and yet he was the greatest. Yet he was a leader. So us today as leaders, we must be in the place to serve. We must be ready to give our all to the people who we are controlling, to the people who are under us, to build them up, to edify them, first with the word of God, with the revelations, with whatever God has laid in your heart to give to the people as an apostle, a preacher, or a teacher, a pastor, whatever. You need to be ready to give your all, even if it is necessary to give material support to people you are controlling, to sheep that are under you as a shepherd. Be ready to do that, and do it in service. You are serving them because you too have been served, because Christ had served you. We are all leaders in our houses, maybe in our job places, even in evangelizing, because this good news of Christ is something that when we receive, we do not need to stay with it. And so in that place of sharing, in that place of evangelizing, you are leading, because you are controlling the person whom you are talking to at that time. And so you need to do it by being humble, by serving, and serving willingly and voluntarily. Don't do as if you are being forced. Do it because you yourself you have received service, and you have that knowledge, you have that understanding. And so we are all called up to serve as leaders, wherever we find ourselves, wherever we are leading. Even the Apostle Paul was talking in 1 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 1. He himself said that he is a servant. Even as an apostle, he is a servant. He is a steward with the word of God. And as a servant, what do we have to do? We have to be faithful. We have to be mature. We have to be humble. And we have to be responsible. Faithfulness, that is to say, we have to be consistent in our posts as leaders. Even as we live our lives, we have to be consistent in sharing the word of God. Sharing the word of God can be talking, as I'm talking it out to you. Sharing the word of God could just be living the word of God, making your actions speak more than even your words, because they say action speaks louder than words. As you take the word of God into your life and you live it, others will see the word of God. That is still evangelism. That is still leadership. And so you have to do it with humility and be responsible. Responsible in the sense that what you hold, what you have been given, is so precious, and so you need to hold it jealously. You need to guard it jealously. It is the word of God, it is the grace of Jesus Christ. What he has done on the cross and beyond is it's so priceless that you need to be responsible over guarding it jealously. What you have been given, especially if you have revelations and visions, if you have things to share, you need to be responsible, and you need to be mature in how you do it. You need to be mature. Don't just go out there with pride. Be humble. Be such that people want to listen. There are some people that when they speak, people don't even want to listen to them. Why? Because probably they speak with a lot of pride, with a lot of knowledge, thinking that they know too much. But when you speak in humility, and yet you are talking sense, and yet you are a leader, people will always like to listen to you. So we need to be that leader that we call people to ourselves, and we need to respond. Need to, even if you are a pastor, and if it is possible to know the needs of those you control, of your sheep, even if it means knowing them one by one, come on, go ahead and be responsive, response to their need. Even if it means giving them money, go ahead. If it means giving prayers, go ahead. If it means counseling, advice, whatever it takes as a leader, that's part of it. It's not only the pulpit that is your part of leadership, or it's the place where you show that you are a leader. The life out of the pulpit, the way you live your life, the way you respond to the people, the way you interact with the people under you, it's another part of leadership. Like I said, it does not end in the church setting and structure. You yourself, you are a leader. The way you interact with people, the way you behave, the way your actions are, the way you talk, the way your speech is, should be somebody filled with service, filled with humility, filled with responsibility, and be faithful in that. And when you know that God holds your back, God again came to serve you, you yourself will be a leader by service. You will serve in order to prove that you are a leader. Not that you will not be puffing off. You will not be in pride because you are leading people. You will not think that it is because you know too much. It is because God has chosen you and appointed you at that particular time and has given you that mandate. And so you take it with humility and use it to serve people with humility. That is how we are called to be leaders. Lead by service. Continue. That's how amazing it is. That is what the grace of God has provided for us, and we need to continue living in that place. That was a brief message for today. Thank you for watching to the end. Remain blessed, and see you again.